Good morning, everyone, and welcome back. You're watching the Kaiser Report. I'm John. I'm coming to you today from the studios to talk about a few things that are happening in the news and around the world today. So I'm hoping that you're all having a great Wednesday, hump day, getting ready for a good weekend coming up. Not a whole lot going on other than the fact that the Washington Post is announcing after the inflation numbers came out, they're trying to make things better by saying inflation improved slightly in April with the timing for rate cuts looming in the near future. Well, that's not true. What happened as close as yesterday was the fact that inflation has increased by 3-point-something%. And overall, if you look at inflation as it exists today, with you add in prices of fuel and groceries and things of that nature, you're looking at a over 20% increase in inflation. And the White House likes to cover things up and give you false numbers, and this happens on usually every time they announce numbers, they're having to revise them in the near future. Well, CBS says that the sun is going to emit the largest X-class flare. If you remember back to when they were talking about the flares that occurred last month and early this month, it was going to be the end of the world, but that did not happen. What it did was it generated a better aurora borealis for you to look at, or as you would be referring to it as northern lights. So the world didn't end. It's not going to end with this new flare or the final flare that they're going to alarm everyone about now. This country lives on the hope and fears of its population. And the more they can make you fearful of this, that, or the other thing, the more success they're going to have in pushing their green agendas and other agendas that they feel is necessary to perpetrate on the population here as it exists today. That said, Biden has proposed 2 presidential debates, which I think, wow. But there is provisos that he is naming his own terms, and we know a little bit about some of what the terms are. They don't want any audience there. They want, because they're afraid of raucousness by the audience, which is ridiculous. But they want to go back to doing the debates where it's just the moderator and the 2 candidates or 3 candidates. Hopefully it'll be 3 candidates, because I think they need to include RFK Jr., whether you like him or not. He is part of this election that's upcoming, and like it or not, he's an independent candidate and should be heard along with the regular polling is only between 2 people now. They continually in the media leave RFK Jr. out for whatever reasons they have. And then, of course, you have the not-so-nice press that comes out with all kinds of stuff about worms in the brain and all this other things and past history that he may or may not have been involved in. And I don't want to get into that kind of weeds with anyone here. But I think he should be allowed to be part of these presidential debates that are going to take place. There was no mention of him in any of the news articles that I read up until this morning about him being involved in any fashion in this particular debate, these 2 debates that Biden has come up with. And the dates, I guess, are going to be one in November and one in June, it looks like. And on Truth yesterday, Donald J. Trump accepted the invitation to debate. I'll tell you that is going to be one fun debate to watch, because I don't know what they're going to pump Joe up on, but they're going to have to give him something to get him through the first debate. And highly questionable is if he does make it to November, if they will have a second debate. It's hard to believe that inflation is what it is. It's hard to believe that the Fed could come out and cut any interest rates at the risk of making inflation or a depression loom worse than it really is. What we have to look at is the reports of the people defaulting on credit cards, and also there is a major problem in real estate foreclosures on office buildings and commercial real estate that's going on today, and that is countrywide. It was isolated there for quite a while to the California districts, but it's spreading now. People are not buying out office buildings or not filling the office buildings with the rentals that they had hoped to have and the banks hope to have as collateral for, if they have to foreclose, they still have tenants that are paying. People are not paying commercial real estate loans right now. People are not paying credit card debt right now. And you need to be aware of that. And if you are carrying debt on a credit card, please pay it down, get out of debt, because it's not a good situation for you to be in right now. So get those things paid off, because they'll kill you on interest, because the interest on most credit cards, even with perfect credit and a history of always paying on time, they're increasing. I get letters daily from my credit card holders saying that, these are the new terms and these new conditions, and they're at 25 and 28. In one case, Sam's Club credit card went up over 30% interest. I don't carry balances. We pay monthly and get rid of that debt. We don't want to be saddled with that debt if something happens. And I urge you all to look at your finances. And if you have an extreme amount of cash in a bank, don't be running to cash a check for $20 and $30 so you can go out and buy something on eBay or whatever, or a flea market that you're going to. Get your cash out, and there is a reason that the old-timers in this country, especially the country people, if you talk to them, they buy everything with cash. They keep cash on hand, and it goes back to the days that they remember of their parents or themselves, in some cases, having suffered through the mass depression in 1929 in the 30s. So they remember that, and they keep their cash on hand. Do not let the bank, they're not paying you a great interest amount on keeping a checking account anyway. So get it out of there. Leave some in behind so you can pay bills or whatever necessary, but get your cash out and get it into a safe place. And, under the mattress is probably not a safe place like some of the old timers will tell you, but there is reasons that you do not want to have all of your cash in banks. If, God forbid, there is a run or another depression hit, where there's a run on the banks, you stand a great chance in not having any cash on hand, because the banks can't give it to you because they won't have it. There's already a shortage of cash. There's already a shortage of coins. Is it because people are hoarding them? We don't know. But you need to be prepared for what can happen in a moment's notice that will put you behind an 8-ball that you can't get out from, because you don't have the ability, because your cash is tied up somewhere else, or your debt is so high that you can't breathe. So pay down the debt if you can. It's important. Don't miss car payments. They'll come after your car. Repossessions are up. I've heard numbers from 8 to 10% across the nation. So make sure that you don't fall into that category. And if you've lost your job and you have to rely on unemployment and government subsidies to get by, please, by all means, go register for it. You deserve it, especially if you're a citizen of this country. They're giving it to non-citizens that crash the border. Why wouldn't you qualify for it? And don't let them tell you that you don't, because you do have some avenues to fall back on. And for the veterans in this country, exercise your rights for the veteran benefits that you were promised. They're giving away free things to everyone but us. And if you're a productive citizen in this country and you do have a job where you're making some money, they'll tell you instantly that you don't qualify for this because you make too much. Well, what is too much in today's world? It's not a lot. They say to live in New York City that you have to make upwards of $280,000 a year to survive and live in Manhattan and New York. Or probably that applies to L.A. and San Francisco and any of the large cities that you look at, Chicago, across the nation. You have to make a good amount of money to be able to live and work in those cities. It's almost prohibitive, which brings us to the university graduates that are out there. Congratulations to all the classes of 2024. I hope that you have an ability to garner a job and be of worth of the degree that you graduated with. And please understand that you have to start at the bottom sometimes, and it's not going to come to you. And people are not going to pay your student debt off. You're going to have to probably bear that burden yourself. However, it will happen and it will come to you if you work hard. And you have to bust your butt in the beginning, as Seinfeld said at his commencement speech, and then things will come. But if you have set expectations to be the president of the corporation that hires you in the first year you're there, you may have a surprise coming your way. Let's bring it into a scientific mode right now and talk a little bit about what's going on with preparations in this country being made to now say that the bird flu will be the next big reason to shut us down or manipulate the population one more time, as they did with the COVID manipulated scare that we had not that long ago. It should be fresh in your memory on how the government will operate under the guise of saving your life. Well, they're saying now the bird flu is going to be the next big epidemic. This has been around for quite some time. They're saying now that it's being transmitted by chickens to cattle and to human by human. These hypotheses are just that. They don't know. They don't know what the mortality rate of any of this is yet. They're looking into what's going to go on. I think it is mildly interesting that this all comes up 6 and 5 months before a major election in this country for both the Senate, the Congress, and the President of the United States. Isn't it interesting on how things populate around the time of elections? Mildly amusing, but what's even more amusing is they will use anything that they can to manipulate, and it's not just one side doing this, it's both sides. It's almost to the point where it is not laughable anymore. It's something to marvel at, that they feel that they can manipulate us because we're too stupid to understand their political brains. We need term limits in the House and in the Senate, and we need people that will agree with that to be voted in. We need to replace some seats that are badly in need of replacement for all of the trickery that has taken place in this particular Congress alone. Never mind the Senate. We need to replace some of these people. We need new leadership in the Senate. The leadership we have is so stale that it is starting to smell. And if you don't believe that, dial up anything that Chuck Schumer has to say. And Mitch McConnell, oh my God, don't even start me on Turtle Face. It's a sideshow that we've been able to watch now for year after year after year with no benefit coming to the American citizenry in this country in any fashion at all. Which brings me to the border. Not only do we have people crashing through the southern border at thousands per day, but now it came to light yesterday that there are 747 plane loads of refugees being brought into the country in the dead of night into various cities across this nation. It was shown yesterday, partly by Fox News, and then there were several articles written both on YouTube and Rumble showing pictures of these aircraft landing with these people coming off. But don't worry, because the criteria for getting brought into the country by airplane for free from a Venezuelan country or another country of like, they have to have been sponsored by an illegal or someone already here. So the ones they sent in through the southern border can now sponsor people to get a free plane ride into the city of their choice. You cannot make up a movie with this kind of script to be believable in any fashion whatsoever. It's comical that what they are doing behind the curtain to this country is pure, out-and-out treachery. For what? For votes? To change the voting population? Or is it worse? They're bringing into this country diseases that we have eradicated over the years, and now they are populating again. Tuberculosis, measles that are have been eradicated here. And go on and on and on. You can find more and more things that are going to come in, such as bird flu and things of that nature, and COVID, you name it, they can carry it in here and start the spread one more time right before the election happens. So it'll be interesting on these debates that are set up, whether or not Joe will come through with it, but Trump has accepted it under the terms dictated by Biden's minions that have decided how they want it done. So it'll be interesting to see what hooks are thrown in there to bend it Biden's way, but I'm sure they have, their think tank run by Hillary Clinton will come up with some form of being able to manipulate how these debates are carried out. So a miniature poodle won the Westminster Dog Show. He was a black poodle, or she, and a beautiful little dog. Of course, Kaiser is my standard poodle, and he is always here with me as we broadcast, and always out on the tours with me. And he was happy to see that a poodle won. We were too. And Kaiser says hi. So not a whole lot going on. I'm hoping for a break in this weather. It poured rain. We had a tremendous thunderstorm last night that will rock you right out of a dead sleep. But in a pretty good rainstorm, which has the creeks and ponds flowing pretty good. And we're happy to see that because it is a growing season. The blackberries seem to be doing really well. We have a resident bear here that we'll have to compete with, who got up into our yard and tore out the bird feeders and literally snapped off a solid steel bird feeder holder. I'll have to post a picture of that for you. We didn't get him on film because by the time I went back to get the camera, Kaiser had already chased him down the hill, and he was gone back into the woods. And he's a fun little guy to look at, and I guess we're going to have to share our blackberry bounty with him this year. But they need to eat as well. And in the news last night was the new campaign strategy for Joe Biden was announced, and they are going to be using George Clooney, and they're going to be using Pretty Woman and Bill Clinton and Barack Hussein Obama will be on the campaign trail with these individuals for Joe Biden's rallies, because Joe Biden by himself cannot bring in the numbers he needs for the news to show. And he was out somewhere in Wisconsin yesterday, and he came into a room with a small crowd and did this, like, oh, look at how many people are here, trying to imitate Trump, but it didn't come over as well as he thought it was. But it's comical. His motorcade going through San Francisco the other day with a handful of people on the side of the road going, there were no shouts. There were no accolades for him to be there. Of course, that city is suffering, like New York and Chicago, with the influx of people that have been sent into these sanctuary cities for various reasons. And that's that. While the citizens of those cities are suffering and not getting the monies that they need for their infrastructure and things of that nature, which brings me to the bridge, not the one in Brooklyn that I'd like to sell to some of these liberals, but the bridge that collapsed due to the ship hitting it in Baltimore. But now they're saying that they're getting ready to demolish the stanchions for the bridge by explosives, while the ship and its entire crew is cloistered there in spot. And the people in the crew are saying, hey, you're going to be blowing stuff up on the bow of this ship. Can we get off? So I don't know what's going on with the FBI investigation there, but they have all of the crew members' cell phones they're looking into, and the crew has been detained on the ship this entire time. And if you think back to when this all happened, it took a matter of hours for the White House to come out and Joe to come out and say, our investigators have looked at this and we're going to replace the bridge. How did they do that before sunup that morning when the NTSB, it took days to get there, and 20-some days before the FBI got there, and no one looking into anything, and they found the black box with the missing 2 minutes on it? And how did his investigative team managed to do that within the matter of hours after the collapse of that bridge. There's a massive cover-up on something here that we're not being told. I hope that they get this bridge straightened out and get the new one up in good time for the citizens that require that bridge to get the goods that they need on the fastest possible route to filling their stores and whatever that bridge is used for, except for, I guess they're not going to put the imaginary train tracks that Joe rode on every day back on that bridge, because there never was a railroad on that bridge. Well, that's just one lie. He has a valise full of lies that he can come out with on a daily basis, and no one questions anything. But then again, we have a population of people that don't want to question why Barack Obama entered his college career under the name Barry Soetoro on a foreign international student visa. No one ever asks about that. No one ever asks about the name change. No one ever asks about why no one at Columbia University ever remembers seeing him. No one ever wants to ask themselves or anyone else why no women have come forward that said they dated him or knew him. These are the mysteries of the Democratic Party when they create someone as they did him, and that's Hillary's doing. It's all covered up. And God forbid somebody like Trump or anyone of that nature comes up and says, I'd like to know this. They get shut down, or worse yet, they commit suicide or go away, that you never see them again. Ask yourself that question and see if you can come up with an answer, because no one else has been able to ask it or get it answered. So with that, we're wishing you all a great Wednesday here, and I hope and pray that we have an answer to bringing back common sense to our country, and I hope and pray for you all to do the right thing to preserve your family and this country as well. God bless you all from the Kaiser Report. We love you here, and if you haven't taken a second to subscribe, please do. As always, send me any comments you might have. I welcome them. If you don't like something, let me know that as well. We're not thin-skinned here, and we'll answer as best as we can. And, of course, you can always email us at LMG, 4, KaiserTalk@gmail.com. So with that, happy Wednesday, and I hope you all enjoy the upcoming weekend. We'll see you here on the Kaiser Report tomorrow. And until then, bye-bye now.